Hello and welcome to the Beat Brings Us Together podcast, presented by myself, Luke Hassan. It's a show where I invite talented musical individuals to discuss their story as we dig deeper into their musical journey. We'll discover where it all began for them, where they are now, and where they look for the future.
So just a bit of news from myself. I've got 2 tunes coming out in October. The first one is Move It or Lose It, and that's coming out on the Overdose ADE sampler. And then not long after that, I've got my other tune, Mine Is Yours, coming out on Swerve Digital's ADE sampler. So it's going to be a busy month for releases, and I'll be giving out all the information on the podcast socials. So look forward to hearing those. This week, I was joined by Sam Dexter, and he talks to us about his role as A&R at Glasgow Underground. He talks to us about his label, Hungarian Hot Wax, and he has some wicked tips for DJs and producers alike. So turn it up because you're going to learn a lot on this one. Okay, welcome to the podcast. Today I'm joined by the terrific Sam Dexter.
Hello.
He has got so much to offer this scene and already does, and it's been great to have him on. So I'm going to dive in with the first question.
Hit me.
I'm going to roll it back, and I'm going to go with, what was your first experience of music?
What, music is...
Music in general, mate.
Is a whole...
I'm making you dig.
Yeah, I'm old. I'm 31.
That's not old.
It is.
Okay, that's not, because I'm 29. Come on.
Yeah, you get that. But, most of the people going out to nightclubs and events, tend to be closer to 20 than they do to 30.
I'll give
obviously, dance music is inclusive of everyone. So, you can be there up until you're 100. And you see that at, European events. You always get someone taking a picture of the old man dancing in the corner and that sums up dance music. But my first real memory of music in any way, I guess, would be Nirvana's Nevermind album.
Great choice, man.
Well, my mum had me fairly young, so she was still into music. Music, as I was growing up in the 90s, was still something you paid for, you got excited about.
Yeah.
If an album came out, everyone went and got that album. It cost 10, 15 pounds. That doesn't happen these days. People don't get excited to go to the shop and then go home and listen to that album. That just doesn't exist anymore and will probably never exist again. But that album cover of just a naked baby in a swimming pool, chasing a dollar or whatever it is, it's just an image I've never managed to get out of my head.
Yeah.
And I'd listen to that album a lot. My mum used to also listen to R.E.M. and so it's not like dance music was my first. It took me a while to find what music I truly liked, but I don't know. I knew from a young age that music was going to be a big thing in my life. And it is my life.
It's a good musical heritage to start with there.
Well, I guess it's it's Nirvana were massive.
Yeah.
And they wrote great records and timeless records. Don't get me wrong, that grunge sound died. But things come and go. But it was a timeless record and a great way to get into something. Just to get excited by music. I think
quite a freedom to their music and R.E.M. and I think they're kind of a rebellion nature that has ties with dance music.
Yeah, I guess so.
In that respect,
I guess so. Erasure as well. I think I was listening to.
Oh yeah.
I live in a small town called Stafford. I wasn't born here, but I've lived here from about the age of 4 or 5. And we used to have a library in the town that you could come down and rent CDs or videos from. And I used to rent this video of Erasure. I had no idea they were massive in the gay community or anything like that. I was always brought up very liberal, and I used to watch this video of Erasure performing and think yeah, these guys are pretty sick. This look how excited people are in the crowd. There's a Michael Jackson video that we used to have, and the size of the gigs that guy was doing. There's women passing out at the front of the stage. Obviously, there's a lot of questionable chat around Michael Jackson, but I'm not going to go into that. If you just look at it from a purely musical point of view, the excitement on people's faces, and some of those records, unbelievable. And he was a fantastic performer. And watching that as a child on video, you're thinking, this guy is insane. Like, look at that, flawless performances, and just the sheer excitement. People would follow him around the world. You know, he needed constant security. All from music. Music is at the bottom of all of that, and you know, obviously times have changed a lot, but it still has the ability to cause that excitement. You know, you just gotta find it. You just gotta be willing to find it as well.
I mean, and I think it strikes me with what you said there and our conversations that music kind of is at the heart of it for you, like why you're in this industry and why you do what you do.
Yeah, it's tricky. You know, you can't just go and have a career in music. You can, obviously you can go give it a go and things like that, but especially something as niche as dance music, you know, obviously it's massive to us, you know, that's our lives, you know, we love it, and things like that. But on the grand scheme of, you know, the music industry as a whole, it's a very small pocket of the music industry, and, you know, earning a living from doing that, you know, at least if it all goes tits up, at least I can look back and be like, I gave it a go. You know, I gave it a go. I'm not going to have any regrets later on in life. You know, if it all goes pear-shaped and I need to get a real job, then I'll do that. But until then, like, I'm going to keep on loving my life, I think.
Yeah, you've done something you're invested in and that you're passionate about. And I think that's probably true of most of anyone who's in these creative fields we work in.
Yeah, you know, you just, if it means that much to you and, you know, you want to turn your hobby into a job, then go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it. But, you know, there's a way of doing that, I guess. And you know, don't be treading on people on the way there is the number one rule. You know, there's space in this game for everyone.
Oh, we've talked about this, haven't we? Like, it's community, man.
I think so.
Community. Help each other out where you can, and just always be supporting people.
I reckon so. I don't think, you know, you learn very quickly who's is beneficial to have around and things like that. But you know, I will always try and help anyone I can. But I think you've got to be doing it for the right reasons, and it shows quite quickly when it isn't. You know, don't get me wrong. There's people with varying degrees of success that are probably doing it for questionable reasons, but you know, that's their choice. Their choice.
Yeah, the space isn't there for everyone.
The image of an international touring DJ is a glamorous one.
Until you do it.
I say, well, I've never toured that heavily or anything like that. You know, I've gone through a run of having a lot of shows and a run of having none. But like, sometimes it's just a lot of traveling. You know, it's a lot of traveling, a lot of time spent on your own. So if you're doing that not in the right mindset, it can be quite, I don't know, I guess it can be quite dangerous, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe not the right word. It can be...
The extreme end, it can be dangerous.
Yeah, we see a big push on mental health, and quite rightly at the moment. You know, everyone's talking about it, whether or not people are actually implementing what they're talking about. But, you know, you see a lot of people still absolutely hammering it at their sets week in, week out. And, like, there's a time limit with that.
Yeah.
There is a time limit. You'll burn yourself out, or you'll end up with, you know, not capitalizing on, you know, your run of recent gigs or whatever, and, you know, not banking that, and then all of a sudden you're skint and in a bad mindset because you've been hammering it every weekend. But again, you know, there's the pressures applied to you on social media and things like that. You know, you're being booked to be the life of a party as a DJ, I guess. So if you're coming up, you know, if you're turning up there and there's obviously a lot of peer pressure, a lot of pressure on people to be doing that. But, you know, you don't need to be going down that way. It's up to you. People make their own choices. But I think as far as, you know, doing it for a living, you've got to have your head switched on a little bit, and, you know, and just be mindful of how you're looking after yourself and how you're treating other people. Though, like, if you treat other people well, the chances are you're probably going to last in this game a bit longer. You know, word travels fast if you're stepping on people or doing questionable things to get to wherever it is you want to be.
I think it's fine that, you know, you're going to make mistakes, of course, but I think you need to kind of learn quite quickly especially if there's, you're at the higher levels, how to cope with these things. And
I think you've got to have a good team around you. And the
get yourself a
the
network.
Avicii thing is a shining example of having probably the wrong people around you at a time when you need, people who know you best. If you're going to be getting pushed to do show after show after show, just take some time out. You don't need to, you don't need to burn it at both ends. You don't need to, there's ways of doing this.
Yeah. It's tragic. But at least the conversation's there now.
The conversation's there, whether or not it's too late or whether or not people are doing it for the right reasons. I mean, of course, any conversation about, it's still a male-dominated industry. It's still a male-dominated industry, and blokes are renowned for being blokes and not really, maybe, talking to people when they should and things like that. There's still that kind of, it's all about breaking down those stigmas around it, I guess.
I think it's about time and generation as well. I think things just happen slowly. I think that's just the way it is.
Yeah, definitely. People who grew up in the 90s and early 2000s, is the decade of the alcopops. Think of the amount of drinking,
binge drinking,
and all that kind of stuff. I grew up in that. Yeah, great times.
Yeah.
But it's got a shelf life of how long you can hit the booze every weekend for.
I feel like if maybe we're just a little bit older, where you knew there were limits to this.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I definitely think there's a much more conscious younger generation below us that are looking after themselves a lot better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to look good on Instagram if you're hanging out your ass.
Very true, man.
Yeah,
I never considered that.
Yeah, so if 18, 19, 20-year-olds today, social media is a much bigger part of their lives than it is of mine. I'm terrible on social media, but
same here.
Just because I grew up without it, but. It's harder to look good on Instagram. Like, you can't be in the gym and stuff like that if you're hanging every day.
Yeah. So that's one positive note of social media we've picked out here, which is something.
Yeah, I guess. But again, there's so many.
We're getting to a ballpark.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh man, it's nice to hear your thoughts on that. Actually, really nice.
I don't know. It's just the way I see it. I'm not saying I don't know what's right or wrong. There is no right or wrong, especially in music. I just feel like maybe the younger generation are slightly more switched on with looking after themselves than the alcohol generation.
They've seen it. They've seen it growing up. They've seen what.
Yeah. I mean, you still see it now if you go out on the town and stuff like that. You're still heavily dominated by people in their late 20s, early 30s.
You can see what they're like.
Yeah, whereas
sprawling out fights.
Whereas beforehand,
why do I want to see this?
Beforehand, they were all 18, 19-year-olds.
Yeah,
but we're good.
Fair
play. But in turn, venues start closing because people aren't there week in, week out as such. But then, move with the times.
We're seeing an evolution in that now, aren't we?
Yeah.
Day parties.
100%. How many people do you speak to that always say, I much prefer a day party?
Yeah.
Much prefer a day party. Yeah, you can be home in bed with a kebab by 11.
Yeah.
Like, that's a dream. That's an absolute dream. Instead of waiting around till 4 o'clock for your set time, it's just... And then, you're walking around getting your train home or whatever, and people are walking around in suits going to their 9 to 5.
Yeah.
We've all been in that situation, but
I think we're seeing an evolution and a variation of a theme, which is brilliant. Like, the more varied it can be, the better, man. It can only be good from that.
100%. It gives options for everyone.
Oh man, okay. I'm going to hit you with some more questions.
Hit me.
That was amazing. I fast forward a bit then. I know you talked about Erasure, which is on the ballpark, but what sort of brought you to like the current state of electronic music? I guess talking about maybe your 16, 18-year-olds going on. When you were 16, 18, sorry.
I used to play the drums. I was a drummer for ages.
Cool.
I was a drummer and percussionist. I used to play in orchestras.
Really?
Yeah. So
okay, yeah.
That, got into that through school by learning an instrument.
Beats in your soul here.
Yeah, well, I kind of I started off playing the clarinet. Picking up an instrument at school. My mum was quite insistent that I had to learn an instrument, but then I quickly realised that's just not cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is and it isn't. As an adult, it is, but as a teenager, as a teenager. in you know, in a pretty rough school for
You need
the
some
area.
confidence at that age to do that.
Yeah. You just, I'm not going to be out playing my clarinet looking like Squidward from SpongeBob. But so I changed that for for drums and percussion. I was playing the drums and percussion in like county orchestras and stuff like that. And then I just I think about 15, I bought a pair of Newmark turntables, direct drive, and some drum and bass records. I'd heard Andy C's Nightlife 1 on CD, and I was like, "What is this?" I've only got experience of listening to it, like whatever I hear on the radio. Basement Jacks were like having a good time then and stuff like that, and it was just like I heard Andy C's Nightlife 1 at a friend's house, and I was like, "This is blowing my mind. This is absolutely blowing my mind. What's this guy doing?" He's like I haven't heard any silence for an hour. It's just constant music, and like so, it was incredible. So I bought some drum and bass records, and I didn't have a clue. So luckily, I found the lad at school who was in my year called Andy Thomas. A big shout out to Andy Thomas. He taught me how to DJ and the importance of doing it. I wouldn't, again, there's no right or wrong, but there are processes,
There's methods, isn't there?
Especially with house music and stuff like that. So we spent a lot of time with Andy learning how to DJ hard house.
Yeah.
So I then started buying lots of hard house. Again, all on record. Like CDJs weren't a possibility then. The price of them and
Not quite good enough, I don't think, back then. I had some flip tops.
Back then, you didn't know though. Like
No.
Back then, had we known the USB revolution was coming, we'd all be like, "Oh, just wait, lads, just wait."
Yeah.
Just wait. But no, I used to buy records off chemicalrecords.co.uk.
Yeah.
So and it was all hard house, and Andy lent me some hard house, and I just put my head down and learned. There's a book, I can't remember who wrote it. It's a really old book called How to DJ Properly. It's got a green cover or grey, and you can get it on Amazon. And I read that. I've never been a big reader. I've always struggled to concentrate on anything long enough to actually put my mind to it properly. So especially with reading books. But I read this book, and it taught me about how a lot of dance music is structured with its 4 bars of 8, and things like that, and the importance of playing the right record at the right time. Again, all in my bedroom and stuff. But you start recording your mixes, you start listening back, and you think, okay, this works and this doesn't. And then eventually, I went from hard house to house music. Like Defected Records at the time was fantastic. I was listening to Dennis Ferrer releases, Junior Jack.
Oh yeah.
Christ, Junior Jack. I mean, I think you hear that in my productions today, the big kind of sampled house music that could fill any venue. It's tough. It is tough to play a peak time house set because you didn't really have record. There's always a big techno record or something that sounds much bigger and heavier and can get that excitement. But when you've got that high energy, big room house music of Junior Jack, and you're just like, well, that's it. That's it. I finally found.
Yeah.
I finally found what I'm definitely going to love for the rest of my life, and that's house and electronic music. But I like saying the big filtered kind of sample house is a style I love and grew up around, and bought all those records and Subliminal Records and things like that. And Get Down Boy, one of my first GU singles was a perfect example of getting a big vocal sample and big room house music. And you could I wanted to make something that could fit into a peak time house set, which reminded me of the records I loved when I was getting into it.
You really hear that in your productions. For sure.
I think so. It's just it might sound a bit dated. That's the thing. I might just sound check out this old man with his old style house music, but it doesn't matter.
I don't know. Yeah, I know what you're getting at. I don't think so though. I think, especially where we are with house music at the moment, it is so varied.
I think I learned. Obviously I work with Kevin a lot, and from Glasgow Underground, and he said to me, make the records that you would want to play at a peak time in your set. think of the sets you want to do, and then make the records that you would want to play at that time.
I've heard that again and again. Make the music that you'd play.
Yeah, and I know it's not always easy to do that as such. You know, especially it's hard to be. You know, there's only a handful of people in the world who are lucky enough to play the gigs they want to be playing week in, week out. You know, there's no illusion there, like, you know, to make it as a working DJ, but then to also be playing only the gigs you want to play and the music you want to be playing is an absolute blessing.
Yeah.
But if you get that opportunity, you need to grab it with both hands and you know, do the best you can do. But so, you know, it's not always easy to be like, right, this is the kind of music I want to play, so this is the kind of music I'm going to make. You know, you've got to be able to express yourself with your music, but I don't know. I just that just stuck with me, and I was, I was like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do.
So you talked about where you began with DJing. Where was the first set you had that I'd be interested in, and what sort of music was it? Was it hard house?
The first set I ever played was in my hometown of Stafford, and I was at college at the time doing music production, a BTEC in music production.
BTECs?
Yeah,
They still exist? Probably.
Reaching for the stars, man. And I was 17 years old, and I was doing a gig with my friend at a pub called the Shrewsbury Arms, and an older lad that we'd met at the college was the promoter for it. I turned up there with my Newmark decks and about 400 records, because I obviously couldn't decide what I wanted to play. It was all just kind of like completely wrong for the pub I was in. You know, I just like early Steve Angello, Eric Prydz, you know, Subliminal Records and stuff like that. All that kind of like big Space Terrace, Ibiza kind of sound.
Yeah.
And I was DJing there to about 4 people. Luckily, some of my friends came down to make it 5 people.
Yeah.
And I was playing it way too loud, but I was having the time of my life. And then, so I'd been going to the bar, getting a few pints. But I was 17, so like it was rare that I could get served. But like I was getting served. But then the bar staff changed. They changed shift, and I went to go get a pint whilst I put a long record on. Pete Heller's Big Love, because it's it's 10 minutes long. You can go for it. You go to the toilet, you get a pint and a fag, and you know, send a few texts, and you know, you've still got 5 minutes left. But I got kicked out. I ordered a pint, and they said, "How old are you?" I said, "Oh, yeah, I haven't got any ID." It's like, "It's all right, I'm DJing, so I just go back." They're like, "No, like you got to go." Like, "What do you mean?" Like, "I'm DJing," and they're like, "Yeah, but your music's crap anyway." Like,
oh man,
and I was just like, yeah, all right. I just pressed stop on the record. Like any of the old blokes in the other side of the pub were like dead happy, and then off I went. Like that's my first ever gig.
Oh man, what an experience! A lot to learn.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But you did your thing, and you enjoyed it. That's the main thing.
I think learn to play for your environment. I think that is like, you know.
Well, there you go. That's what you were touching on, just wasn't it? It was, if you're playing the gigs that you want to play with your music, but there's also the other side.
Yeah, you can't just, obviously
look at the environment, look at the event that you're playing at as well.
Obviously, you want to stand out, but I think sometimes to stand out, you have to do the most professional job, I guess. Yeah. And if you want to warm up, do a warm up. Like, don't go in there just playing bangers because that's what you want to be known for. It just doesn't work like that. Like, it's just. There's only a handful of people in the world who are doing these headline gigs and can obviously play whatever they want, and are really good at doing that role of a headline gig. But like, I feel like when you go to see someone DJing, you can tell if they've been doing this, week in, week out, like, building their way up from the bottom. You can tell. You can definitely tell people who can read a room and pick the right record for that time. And obviously at 17 in the Shrewsbury Arms, I wasn't that person. But
you had the drive.
Yeah, well, I like to think at 31, I'm still a house music DJ and will always be a house music DJ. I can definitely feel like I can play most places with and hopefully pick out the right kind of vibe for that time. But that's only because I was 17 when I started. I'm 31 years old now, and I've done all those gigs of playing to 2 people in a pub up to wherever and whenever. But you just you learn. You've got to I'm not saying everyone should do that. Go do the vinyl thing, and that was just how it was at the time for me. Yeah. I'm not saying everyone should learn how to play vinyl. That's the last thing I'm saying. But that's how it was for me. That's the equipment I had at the time. And I knew nothing, but you think you know everything, and I still know nothing now. But after doing something for so long, you just get a feel for it. I'm sure like yourself, when you walk into a venue, obviously you've got a folder on your USB stick, like, these are the tracks I'm going to play. And then obviously you get there and you're just like, actually, no, I'm not going to play any of those tracks.
It's not going to work.
Straight away. Yeah, it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then...
But there's the skill, there's the experience you've got.
Yeah, I guess.
That's what you need to be, not just a great DJ, but maybe a working DJ if you want to do it for a long time.
For me, people work hard to come to these events. People work hard to spend the money on those events, or even if you're just playing in a cocktail bar or something like that. I absolutely love playing in a cocktail bar.
Oh man, yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah, my favourite gigs are the ones where I can just be in the corner. No one even notices me. No one's coming up hassling me for requests or anything, because I'm just there in the background, just creating that atmosphere. And that can and it takes the right records to do that. But again, it's a dream to be able to just be. I don't need people looking at me. I'm just mixing records. I'm mixing records. I'm not doing anything interesting. I look like Freddie Flintoff. I get that a lot, actually.
Oh, you do actually, that's been bugging me for a while. I was thinking, you do remind me of something.
Yeah, but the amount of gigs you show up to,
that's a good thing, though, really, isn't it?
Freddie Flintoff's DJ, but that's cool.
That's not a bad one to look like, though.
I don't mind. I'm just grateful that people are taking the time to come say hello instead of telling me to play R. Kelly.
Actually, you know what? That's a question I've wanted to put in on this podcast.
Go on.
Because we know this will be episode 6. So I wanted to go. So it'll be like, what's the worst or funniest request you've ever had?
Well, obviously, recently there's the easy ones are R. Kelly and Michael Jackson these days, aren't they? Someone will come up to you have you got any R. Kelly or Michael Jackson? And you're just like, well, that's
Brendan a minefield here.
That's a really good joke, mate. But go have your Jaeger bomb and just let me do what I'm doing. My mind's telling me no. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously to us DJing's different. To us, this is our life, and this is my life. And when I go and play in a venue, I want to make sure that I'm playing the right music for the right time, and whether I'm building it up from the start or having to go in pretty heavy because people are really wanting to go full speed or whatever. I think you're always going to get those requests from the people that I wouldn't say don't understand, just they see music differently. So you could be on a vibe of 123 BPM house music, just keeping it nice and grooving and rolling, and people just nodding their heads. And someone will come up to you and be like, "Can you play something I can dance to?" We've all had that. Oh yeah. I'm sorry, love. What do you mean? Well, I don't know what makes you dance. Give me a clue. Give me a clue. Oh, okay. You got anything with any words in it? Oh, okay. Well, I think this one has one word in it somewhere. But is it, I don't, you just get them, don't you? You get, but they see music differently, They're seeing it like your iPad, like you're an iPad, and you're a jukebox. Yeah, I've got 2 CDJs and 2 USB sticks here. They're like, oh, can you just get it off Spotify? I'm like, yeah, all right, I'm just going to put this into Spotify mode. But it's a different thing. Yeah, people. It's just it's not a lack of understanding. Well, it is a lack of understanding. But I'm not. Why would you expect people to understand what you're doing? Why would you expect that? To them, they want to hear probably with the same song that they've heard 7 times whilst they're getting ready for their night out. That all of them and the mates are singing, and and that's what that's how they see music. Whereas I don't know to us, it's our life. Yeah, you got to remember we're in a niche bubble, aren't we? Someone could come up to you with a request, you'd be like, "Oh, I spent 40 quid on this record on Discogs, and everyone hates it." And I thought it was going to go down really well, and it's just going down like shit. This is all the balance, though. Again, you've got to.
play for the whole venue, not just one person. And sometimes the venue wants to create a certain atmosphere, and maybe you've got to balance that
100%.
with the people in there, what they want.
And of course, you want to stand out as a DJ. And I'm not saying like I do what I do, and everyone does what they do, but you can't. These people work hard to go out every weekend, and you can't just always be like, oh God, I had this absolute walloper come up and ask me for 50 cent whilst I was playing, I don't know, like some really cool deep house track. But that's going to happen. But again, use your awareness. Where are you? Where are you playing? Have a look around. Are people enjoying it? It's finding that perfect balance between trying to express yourself musically, but also trying to keep people happy. I guess.
Yeah. Oh well, very good answer. Very political answer as well. I love it. You're
I've
very
been
well
Switzerland. I'm sitting on the fence.
Okay, so this kind of brings me on to something that obviously I really wanted to ask you about, and I guess a lot of people are going to hear about, is Hungarian Hot Wax.
Hungarian Hot Wax.
Why? To give you a little bit on this, but like, why do you think people need this label? Why does it need to be out there?
I don't think it does.
Very humble.
Well, no, I started Hungarian Hot Wax. The idea came to me in 2014, and that's all because I was sat on some music from a friend, Bajan, who's on the label. And, he sent me this music, and I was like, well, why don't I just do it myself? I didn't have a clue then. I went off and got 300 records pressed. I got, a really nice record sleeve designed. It's got a hand-drawn fly on the front of it.
Yeah, you gave it. I had it some the other day. It's great.
It looks fantastic. Yeah. It stands out a mile in a record shop, but the cost was astronomical. It cost me over £1,000 to put that record out, and obviously I sold about 5 copies. So, and I don't regret it. I just didn't. It was just a case of thinking you know it all and not actually knowing it. So I just dived straight in and made a load of mistakes, and that's how I learned, I think.
Yeah.
And after putting the first 3 releases out on vinyl, it just wasn't adding up. And then obviously the cost of vinyl went up because we were using a European pressing plant, and Brexit happened. And it was either switch to digital or get left behind.
Yeah.
But to answer your original question, I was sat on some music from a friend, and I just thought it needed to go out, and why not? Let's see. See what happens. We didn't put much out at the beginning because I just didn't have the music. I just didn't have. Why would you send your music to me? Other than because you want it on vinyl. And that was fine. The first 3 releases, I love them all, but it's evolved now, and it's probably heading in a different direction to what it originally was. But it still sticks to. It's just house music. I try not to put too many labels on it. I think if you look at us on Beatport, we're a deep house label, I guess. Probably we have a deeper sound for sure. But it's also, I guess, a way for artists who don't really have. You as an artist yourself, how hard is it to get a label to listen to your music?
Oh, so hard. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I get that, and I don't. You can't just employ someone to just sit there and listen to incoming demos, because chances are those incoming demos going to a generic inbox aren't going to generate that much income to warrant paying that wage, for example. There's a lot more to it. We can get on this in a bit, but there's a lot more to it than being able to start a record label and then turn that into something that's going to put money into the artist's pocket. And but with Hot Wax, I just wanted it to be. We have a lot of artists on the label that haven't released anywhere else, or are struggling to find a home. Or struggling to find anyone who's not going to rip them off.
Yeah, sure.
that happens all the time. With Hot Wax, we pay a 50% artist royalty.
So that's really good, man.
Well, and we don't hammer you with costs. So I'm not going to turn around. I'm not going to turn around and say, yeah, like I'm not going to name any names, but there's labels out there that will send you a statement and it will have office costs in there, artwork costs, all these costs, and you just think, well, why am I paying for you? Why is my music paying for your office? Like,
Yeah.
But I wanted it to have the fairest. I wanted to have the fairest, contract in the game, so everyone gets paid. Again, we're not talking about masses of money. Anyone who releases music will know that. But it just shows people how it works. This is how we do it. But it was also to attract music as well. It was also to attract people to the label. I can't. Hot Wax doesn't offer gigs or anything like that. It offers a way in to getting your music out. I like to say properly. Like, I like to think I do a good job of it. Your record will be promoted. It will look great. We'll try and have pretty good artwork that stands out on a store like Beatport, for example. It just I don't know. It's just showing and giving people an opportunity that probably maybe wouldn't get their tracks listened to by the labels they want to get to.
Yeah.
And it's doing quite well at the moment.
It's
on a good roll, I think. Yeah.
It comes across so well because through my experience, from like an outsider's experience, I met you. I met you a long time ago in Stafford.
Yeah.
And then we met again this year or last year.
Brighton.
We met this year.
That was Brighton, wasn't it?
Hang on, we know each other. And then I went away and I'd already bought tracks off Hungarian Hot Wax, but I didn't realise you were involved in Hungarian Hot Wax.
Yeah,
and I'm like, wow, I'd already had such a great standing of this label because it looked like someone that was pushing good records.
Yeah.
They're not chasing anything. It's like, it seemed like the whole ethos was that they're just putting out good music from artists, and it doesn't matter who that artist is. They don't have to be the hot minute artist. They can be unknown. They can be known. That community of artists comes across with the releases.
I think so. I think I did that by just signing good music, regardless of who it was from. Obviously, there's artists out there that could release absolutely anything and it's going to sell well.
Yeah.
But I just feel like you don't really build anything by doing that. They've obviously built something to get to that point where they can release anything, but it's hard. It's hard to get music from artists. Why does that artist want to give you that music? Well, because we'll do a good job of it, hopefully.
Yeah.
But we have to offer something in return. Anyone can put their music out themselves these days. So a record label is becoming less and less important. Look at artists putting music out, smashing it globally on a global scale, completely self-released.
Yeah. Or free, or just free downloads.
Yeah.
Just as much.
Yeah. And as a record label, you're going to have to offer something because there's nothing stopping people from doing it themselves. So I feel like with Hot Wax, we do a good job on maybe promoting it, or we just do it, but we're also creating a bit of a family, a bit of a community in the way we're doing it. And it's just so happened that, especially this year, most of the artists are from Birmingham, which is giving it a great sense of community, because then we can build from there and start getting a presence in Birmingham by doing some events and things. And the artists on the label seem to really enjoy being involved and just seeing how it all works. I'm very honest and open with people about how we release the records. I keep people updated with every stage of it. And it just, I'm not exploiting in a bad way. I'm not getting records off people for my gain. It's more about a community thing. There's space in this game for everyone. We just got to do it right, I guess. Just do things right. Something try and create a bit of longevity, a bit of a legacy, a bit of a community. We want people to be involved. We want the new artists that don't have. aren't getting their demos listened to anywhere else, come to us. Like,
Yeah,
if your track's not quite right for us, we'll tell you why, and you know, it will try and poke you in the right direction. You're not just gonna hear nothing from us. No.
I think it's Brian who was like, "Oh, you should send it to Hungarian Hot Wax," and then that on
Yeah,
my Tuesday, and I was like, "Oh wait, that's Sam's." Oh no way.
I think Ryan Nichols is a perfect example of what we try and do at Hot Wax. You know, is writing some fantastic music, and you know, after his first couple of releases with us, he's now releasing with A&amp, and
Yeah.
and you know, that's exactly what we want. You know, I don't want people to release on Hot Wax and be like, right, I only want you to release with me. Like, that's the last thing I want. I want everyone to be successful. You know, I want everyone to reach the goals they want to achieve.
Yeah.
And if I can help that in some way by helping you get a record out, you know, I put a lot of work into the records that come to Hot Wax, because you know, things like an arrangement or certain elements of a track, you know, it's really important. For, you know, you have to have a DJ for it. We're selling music to DJs.
Yeah.
You know, so your records have got to be arranged in a way that a DJ is going to want to grab that. And so it's just, I don't know, I just feel like it's giving people a chance that might maybe not getting that chance elsewhere. So
Yeah. Well, it's brilliant, mate. Well done. And
hopefully onwards and upwards.
yeah,
You know, with it.
you had one of the launch events at the Stag a couple of weeks ago.
Hot Wax Social. The idea with that is yes, don't get me wrong, you know, all the artists are DJing and things like that, but we did it in such a way that it's more about come down, have a chat with us. Like, you know, are you into music? Are you producing music? Or are you just liking what we're doing? You know, come talk to us. We don't want you to be on one side of a barrier watching us doing what we're doing on another side of a barrier. Yeah. That's not what it's about. Like, you know, for me, dance music is fully inclusive of everyone. And I think, you know, people have some serious things going on in their lives, and dance music, especially for me, has always been a way of, I don't know, it's a community thing, you know.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's been getting lost a bit more these days. So, you know, try and bring that sense of community back. Like, just show up on your own. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, we're all there. We're all there because we're interested in a similar thing. So, you know, you're gonna meet like-minded people. You're gonna have, you know, you're gonna have a good time. Hopefully, you know, when it's a bit more casual way of doing things. But you know, we're not a big label that are going to be selling out club tickets, because we're just not at that level. But we can definitely grow a little community and just see where it goes. Really,
Yeah. I think you're very honest, and there's a very openness to the label, and the advice you give as well. You're very open to me, and then to everyone else.
There's no illusions behind it. We're probably a bit quiet on social media, and that's just because I'm rubbish at it. Like, I'm not, you know, it will get better. It will get, you know, more popular, hopefully, as we go along, and the more releases we put out. But at the moment, the important thing for us is getting the records the best they can be, and working with these artists to get their records to where they want them to be. I mean, the support on some of the recent releases has been fantastic. We've had DJs like Sasha, Josh Butler, even Caribou got back to us on a promo the other day, and we're just, you know, we're just a group of guys from the Midlands trying to make records as best we can, and trying to get them to the people that will play them. Like, you know, you can't force someone to ever listen to your record or play your record, but you can have a pretty good idea of who might want to support that record, and it's your job to try and get it to them.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to try and do from there.
Love it.
Onwards.
Hungarian Hot Wax.
Hungarian Hot Wax. Absolutely nothing to do with Hungary, by the way.
I thought it was a Hungarian base.
We get loads of messages from people in Hungary like, yeah, what's all this about? They're like, oh yeah, sorry mate.
I think there needs to be an event in Budapest, I guess.
Well, I guess, but it's named after a chili pepper.
Yeah,
so
that's brilliant as well.
So that's why the branding is always kind of loosely related to a chili. But the artwork's fantastic. You know, my friend Mark Johnson, who does all of it, is incredibly talented, and he hits the nail on the head. We sell records on stores like Beatport, and you have a small tile, and your record needs to stand out. It needs to catch someone's eye, and it needs to have a bit of consistency. You see so many releases with just really poor, shoddy artwork. Well, back in the day when you were buying records, sometimes you'd buy a record just because of the sleeve. Obviously, you'd put it on, and it'd be terrible, but it looks fantastic. And I never like. There's always been that close connection between music and art, and I think it's extremely important to keep that connection, or else we could end up losing a bit of its soul.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see. We'll
see.
see how we get on. Like we Hot Wax is doing great, much better than I ever dreamt of. Yeah. So as long as we can keep attracting people to the label and we can just keep pushing them out, then there's no signs of it stopping.
Superb. I've got a question. I guess we touched on your DJing and touched on a little bit about your production, but what brought you to the production stage? Because obviously you were at college making music. Were you making sort of stuff?
Before I joined Glasgow Underground, I had I've got a few things out that aren't great and not under the Sam Dexter name. But that's just experience of just kind of like of just making records and getting them signed. Or I've always been a DJ first. And I've always made edits and produced, but I've never really looked at that as a kind of, I don't know. I've never looked at that as a way to push myself forward in this as a career, for example.
Okay.
But obviously, when I joined Glasgow Underground, I had the chance to start again, basically, and release some records as Sam Dexter.
I mean, because you've had a string of releases with GU, and they all reflect that sample nature, and they're bloody good as well.
Thanks.
I had the releases before I realised who you were as well.
I learned a lot from working as an A&R. Teaches you a lot about where your tracks need to be for them to have some kind of success. I'm not saying people should write music with the sole reason for it to be successful, but it also becomes very stale and very disheartening to keep putting records out and like selling one or two copies. You just get bored of it.
Yeah.
And working at Glasgow has, we get over 100 demo emails per week. So listening to every single one of those for however many years, you very quickly learn where your productions need to be for them to stand out, for people to want to play them and buy them, essentially. So I just I took some time out and from producing and I just I looked at it in a completely different way.
Yeah.
Like again, I just learned a lot more. But I also have Kevin on my side, who is a fantastically special human being with a hell of a lot of experience of selling records and producing. And he knows exactly what it takes to make a record that people are going to want.
Yeah.
So I'm very fortunate to be in this position. I'm very grateful for having people who want to spend the time and help me with my productions. So I think, and you can definitely hear that on my my Sam Dexter releases on Glasgow Underground. You can definitely hear that.
Yeah.
That there's, if I was to show you like some of my earlier stuff, you can definitely hear the difference in in structure, arrangement. What am I using as a hook for? It's the importance of. There's so much more to it than people ever think, and that's basically what I've learned from my time at Glasgow.
So you think as an A&R, it does make you step your game up? I felt that doing it for replay, getting demos, like,
Okay, well, I need to. I need to give something more, which is good.
Yeah.
Like healthy, not competition, but
Well,
it's that you need to step up.
I think so. Yeah, you need to. There's a lot of people doing this, and that's great. It's absolutely fantastic, and everyone wants to stand out a bit. And you being in A&R and listening to hundreds and hundreds of tracks every week, you very quickly realize which ones stand out, which ones don't, and then you think, why do these stand out? Why is this one standing out compared to the other 90 that I've listened to today? Like, why does this one stand out? Oh, the production's better. They've got a great hook in there, and it's arranged great, and you quickly learn. Okay, right. So if I'm going to be doing this, this is where I need it to be.
Yeah.
And that takes time, and it takes time, and it's just, I've been in A&R now for 4 years almost. Well, nearly 5 years with GU, and in that time I've learnt more than any university or college course. I've learned so much more, but that's because dance music and house music is a very niche area, and in the grand scheme of music. So it's hard to go to a HND or a university course in music production, and because all you want to know is how to get your kick and bass sounding great.
Yeah.
But they've got to cater for everyone else.
Yeah.
It's so my time at Glasgow is definitely 100% improved the way I approach music production, for sure.
So what's I mean, maybe it's a question for Kevin, but I'm sure it's for you as well. What's sort of in the pipeline for Glasgow? Is any sort of change, or are you keeping it going? Any bigger gigs, any things like that?
We are just pushing forward with, we pride ourselves on being a record label for DJs.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can see that in our releases. We release the tracks we think DJs are going to want to play week in, week out. Sometimes they're not the coolest of deep undergroundness, but we are doing really well on Beatport at the moment, so we're obviously doing something right. We're building and building and building, and yes, we release some pretty big records, but we want to release those records that people like at peak time when your dance floor is full. We want to be able to provide you with that record that you can play, and you're gonna, it's gonna keep people dancing. And by releasing some of the bigger records, it still allows us to take chances on less well-known artists. I don't think we've ever shied away from. It's always been about the music.
Yeah,
always. But Kevin's just about to release his new album.
Yeah, you had the launch the weekend.
Yeah, we did a launch party for that at Mixed Garage in London, and it was fantastic. Kevin smashed it. It was a really great vibe in there. So we're going to make sure we get some footage of that, hopefully online, some grainy mobile phone footage of that online. But again, it was just a really, really good party. There wasn't it wasn't about. Obviously it was the launch of Kevin's album and stuff like that, but it's such a cool venue. The lighting isn't great. It gives it the whole. I'm sure it can be if they wanted it to be. I think, but the whole purpose of this was more about just heads down and dancing. So it wasn't about a big light show or anything like that. Kevin just went out there and laid down a great set.
Yeah. So it's raw vibes, as raw as it can be.
It's like it wasn't. The only person holding up a mobile phone taking videos was me, because we're looking for some of that footage to use as promotional material. But it was great. It was really good to see that kind of club and party still exists. But so with GU, we're just pushing forward, and just sticking to our ethos of releasing the tracks we think DJs will play.
Yeah, well, I don't. There's many a set where I wouldn't play.
Yeah,
I think
you can always find something. We're a house music label. We'll always be a house music label, but we do some deeper stuff, some more techie stuff, some heavier stuff. You will. I like to think if you have a look back through the last year or so's releases, you'll definitely find a couple of tracks. Everyone will find a couple of tracks
It'd be hard not to.
I guess, yeah, I guess.
Because they're good.
Yeah, but
Good releases.
it comes down to strict A&R from myself and Kevin, I guess, is the ethos. Like if we wouldn't play it, it's not going out. It's not for us.
Yeah.
If we wouldn't play it, or if there's something not quite right about it, like it just doesn't it doesn't benefit anyone releasing music just for the sake of it. It doesn't benefit the artist, doesn't benefit the label. You've got your records have to stand out. It's a competitive game.
Yeah.
So your records have to stand out and sound fantastic. And I feel like we're in a really nice position with Glasgow at the moment. Hopefully we'll get it to the point where we can start doing parties and things like that. But at the moment, I very much see us as a DJ's label.
Yeah, that's cool. That's brilliant, though. And it's great to see that growth.
That's brilliant.
So what's coming up for you in the next 12 months? Releases? Gigs?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I got. What am I doing? I've remixed David Penn and Kevin's Hallelujah.
Awesome.
So that'll be coming on Glasgow. I'm working on a remix with Jess Bays at the moment.
Yeah,
from Defected.
wicked.
So me and her are working on a remix. I can't really say too much about that at the moment. I'll have a new single coming on Glasgow, hopefully before the end of the year. If not, it'll be early next year. And pushing Hot Wax forward.
Yeah.
Hot Wax is really important to me.
Spinning a lot of plates, aren't you?
I guess so, but I think that is just the music industry. Well, maybe dance music today. You can't, it doesn't. The whole myth of just having one role within dance music and earning a living from that is, don't get me wrong, that exists, but you have to be doing very well. For an up and comer, I think you need to have fingers in as many pies as possible. Yeah. Just to pay your bills, I guess.
That's being savvy, isn't it?
Well, there's not masses of money in dance music. There probably is at the top end, but there's such a massive difference between the top and the bottom, and just getting and just it's learning where that income comes from and making sure you're doing the right things to get that income.
Okay, well that leads me to probably a nice and final question for you, Sam. What would be the best piece of advice you'd give for for you, quite a triple, quadruple threat going on here, but best advice for a DJ or a label owner or a producer?
Don't be an arsehole. I think,
yeah.
I think, I don't know, I can't stress that enough. Nothing leaves a more gutting feeling with you than working with someone that is just not very nice. You know what I mean? If you're working within dance music or wanting to work in dance music, chances are you love dance music.
Yeah.
And that's what's at the heart of it. And that sometimes gets a bit lost with success. We're all doing this because we absolutely love what we do. So dealing with other people within the industry, I just can't see any need for there to but obviously that's the business side of things. When there's money involved in things, there will always be, it can always be tensions and things.
Yeah.
However, I still think there's a certain way to carry yourself, and I think that's important. We all hear horror stories of big artists with big egos and things like that, and you must, don't get me wrong, to be an international DJ, you need to have some kind of ego in the first place to want to do that, I guess. But I think just don't lose sight of what you set out to do.
Yeah.
As a DJ, know your surroundings. As a producer, take your time. Take your time. There's no rush.
That's been a big one for me.
Yeah, as a producer, definitely surround yourselves with people you can trust. You don't want to send your record to people and everyone come back yeah, you're doing great, this is amazing, you're doing great. You want to hear honest feedback from people. You want to hear honest feedback on how you think it could be improved or what's maybe letting it down. How else are you going to improve? Yeah. How else are you going to improve? And if you're running a label, take your time. Don't sign everything.
Quality over quantity.
Quality over quantity. Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, you don't need to be hammering the releases. If obviously when you get to a certain point, you'll have that much music coming at you that you are lucky enough to be able to release week in, week out. But in the meantime, think, are people going to be playing this record in 10 years?
Yeah.
If they're not, is that something you want to sign? You know, do you want to just make a quick buck off it? Like, you know, sign something you think you can see yourself playing in 10 years' time.
Perfect.
And stick to that, maybe.
Yeah.
But that's it. I don't know. There is no right or wrong in this game.
Like, it's nice to have some advice from someone who's doing it.
I learned by making mistakes, and I also learned a lot working with Glasgow Underground. So I'm very fortunate to have been able to do that, and I'm more than happy to give like what I feel would be advice to people. But again, there's no right or wrong. Just don't be an arsehole.
Right. And we'll leave it there. Perfect advice.
Great. No, that's right.
Thanks very much for coming on, Sam.
Thanks for having me.
You're a busy man, and it's great to have an insight from someone who works in a lot of different areas of this industry that we're in.
Yeah,
and,
if anyone can learn anything from listening to this, and go for it.
Amazing.
Don't give up, though. Never give up.
Don't give up.
Never give up.
Yeah, let's have a positive effect.
100%.
Thanks very much, man.
That's right. Thanks for having me.
It was brilliant to have Sam on the podcast. He had some wicked info for DJs and producers, and just brilliant advice for life in the music industry in general. Make sure you go and check out his label, Hungarian Hot Wax. It's flipping awesome. Some brilliant artists on there. A lot of good stuff coming from that label. And be sure to check out Sam Dexter's productions too. They're so good. Loads of wicked tunes on Glasgow Underground. So thank you very much.
Make sure to subscribe to the podcast and rate 5 stars. You can find us on our socials at Beat Brings Us, or alternatively, you can drop us an email at beatbringsustogether@gmail.com. Please send in any questions you'd like me to ask future guests, or any feedback you have. I'd love to hear it. Thanks, and until next time, you've been listening to Beat Brings Us Together podcast with me, Luke Hassan.